Welcome to the Heidi Thorne Show. I'm your host, Heidi Thorne, and in this podcast I share my real-world self-publishing and small business experience with you. Before we get started, I just want to remind you to like, comment, share, follow, and subscribe. Now let's get on with today's show. I have just wrapped production on a new audiobook that's a departure from my usual content. It's titled Cradle to Crochet, Thoughts on the Crocheting Life. In the book, I share my philosophical and sometimes snarky thoughts from doing this craft for around a half a century. It's available on Amazon, Audible, and Apple Books. In doing this latest book, I ran across some updates to ACX, Audible, and audiobook trends that I'd like to discuss with you. Though I've been watching developments with Amazon's ACX Audible audiobook production and distribution platform, I haven't produced a full audiobook there in a while. Here's what I experienced going through the full process again now. In early 2020, of course, immediately after I had just published my audiobook, Networking for Authors, ACX announced their new audio analysis tool. As you upload your audio files to ACX, it analyzes the file to make sure that it meets specs for Audible audiobooks. This is a game changer for DIY self-published audiobook authors. Prior to this, you sent your files and you had to wait maybe weeks to see if they met spec. Then if they didn't, you didn't get too much guidance on fixing them. So this latest audiobook was my first real full-scale test of the tool. It was absolutely impressive. I had only 2 or 3 files that needed a bit of tweaking, and it told me exactly what I needed to correct. After making the minor tweaks, the entire set of audio files passed. It does still take some time for ACX to approve the audiobook files. After uploading my files, I got a notice that it could take around 10 days to get it approved. Still not as fast as KDP for Kindle ebooks or print books, but it's getting better. On the reporting side, on authors' completed project listings, you can see exactly how many of each title you have sold. But the bad news is that there is no graph or listing of when those sales were made. The sales dashboard doesn't have a year-to-date report either. You have to look at stats for each quarter and then manually add them up. The reports are still very crude, vague, and annoying. And I hope that this will improve over time, similar to how KDP reports work now. In terms of trends, Public Books Magazine, very interesting research on audiobook listening. This may change how you think about audiobooks. And if audiobook platforms are paying attention, it could change how they wish to present audiobooks in the future. I'd encourage you to read the entire article on this study, but a couple of the points from the study really were eye-opening for me. Ebooks are read mostly during traditional leisure time, like evenings and weekends. Audiobooks are read anytime, including during work hours. But audiobook listening drops around dinner time and then picks up again in the evening. This pattern appears to be consistent across genres too. And not all audiobook listeners are the same, and they don't consume books in the same way either. If you look at the graph, there's the cluster of normal listeners, which you'd expect on any statistical study. But the outliers are of most interest. Some outliers repeat the same books over and over. Then there are those who listen to a lot of books, but they don't listen to the whole book. What this study found is that these not finishing the whole book type listeners, they might read up to 90 audiobooks a year from over like 60 authors. But my question is that this kind of listening, can we really say that they actually read 90 audiobooks? I don't think so. And the last group of outliers are binge listeners. They read completely one book and then immediately start another one. Commentary on the research suggests that streaming services for audiobooks might be palatable to publishers and authors and consumers too. instead of the pay-per-book systems that are in place now. Currently, I think the closest primary audiobook platform that has kind of a streaming model is Audible. However, that's not really streaming in the sense of being able to consume several audiobooks at the same time or one right after the other. You get one measly audiobook with the normal subscription and some discounts on purchases of other audiobooks. A shift to subscription audiobooks, similar to how Kindle Unlimited works, would be a massive change. It would take cooperation and integration of publishers and distributors and authors, and I just don't see that happening anytime real soon. But I do think authors need to be aware of this possible shift and assess how it will impact their investments in audiobook development, production, and marketing. Then there's the Spotify issue. In late September 2022, I discussed the launch of audiobooks on Spotify, the music and podcast streaming platform. I wondered how the market would respond. Because it's still so new, I haven't seen any reporting on their sales. And we also don't know if they'll be sharing any of that data, similar to how Amazon and Audible keep that kind of data under wraps. But existing audiobook retail does seem to be perceiving Spotify as a threat. According to a New York Times article in late October, Apple rejected Spotify's app multiple times in the months since the audiobook announcement, citing that the new audiobooks break the rules for how developers communicate with customers about online purchases. But apparently the app with the audiobook experience has been Apple approved. In looking at the Spotify app on my iPhone while I'm preparing this, the app still says I can't buy audiobooks on the app with the statement, "We know it's not ideal." But apparently you can purchase outside the app and add to your Spotify listening library. And this is one reason why I didn't immediately jump ship on my ACX Audible exclusive deal. I think there will be a lot of hassle for both authors and publishers and consumers in this early going, and it's not worth giving up the extra royalties I get with ACX and Audible. So that's me, and I'm just going to wait and see how this game plays out. I hope you found that helpful, and if you did, please rate, review, and subscribe to The Heidi Thorne Show on whatever podcast app you like to use. I'm on all the major ones, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you like the YouTube video better, all you have to do is subscribe to my Heidi Thorne YouTube channel, and that is at Heidi Thorne Channel on YouTube, and turn on the notification bell so you get an alert when a new video is up. I would appreciate it if you would share the audio or the video with your friends on social media. My self-published books, including Kindle ebooks, print books, and audiobooks, are available on Amazon, Audible, and Apple Books. All you have to do is go to one of those sites, type in my name, and you'll see a list of all available titles. If you'd like to connect with me, my website is HeidiThorne.com. Thank you so much for listening and for your support. I'll look forward to talking with you again in the next episode, and in the meantime, have a great day.